Hello, and welcome to episode 30 of What If Civilization Started Over. If you didn't see the last one, then we basically just saw the American independence from Spain and the collapse of the Spanish Empire. And then we saw, I think India had a lot of crazy stuff happening. And then we saw the French Revolution, which is still ongoing. As you can see, they don't have an ideology yet. And also, I guess France invaded into Spain? Honestly, it's been so long since I recorded the last episode, and I still haven't edited it yet. So, I think that the France invading into Spain was a relic from. You know what? If this wasn't a relic from the American War for Independence, then we will just say France has withdrawn their troops. But anyway, let's get on with the actual episode. I'll turn off ideologies because that will not be necessary. Alliances maybe, but not for now. And basically what's going to happen at the start of this is that the new French leader is very popular in at least this part of his country, but he's also very weak. And so the French king will start invading into him. And ideologically, we can get rid of the constitutional part of the monarchy. But essentially what happened was the king and the prime minister got into a big disagreement, and that led to the prime minister founding his own country, which is this purple one that is getting clobbered right now. And Italy will, and they're not Rome anymore, they're Italy now, spoiler. But Italy will start their own invasion, just to take some of their old territory back. And then they'll stop here because they don't really care about getting more territory, but it seems like the French Prime Minister is losing. However, he has a pretty obvious strategy, which is that he rallies the people, so people in these two cities are broadly in favor of the purple faction, as well as this one city, while the remainder of the country is either pro-king or at least not pro-prime minister enough to actually weigh in on the prime minister's side. But the prime minister will be able to make some pushes as the French military will withdraw a little bit, or the royal military, I'll say, to quell these rebellions. However, while this one is kind of permanently quelled, these guys are just going to get worse, as although they're instantly quelled, this has kind of become a permanent part of the rebellion. And France withdrew their troops from Spain, specifically because they want Spain to help them. For now, Spain isn't helping them, and they're actually starting to lose, which is embarrassing because they used to be the strongest country in the world, but obviously this is going to be a problem for them. But Spain has a solution to that, as they will start helping France in exchange for having their own thing. Or no, they will start helping the French military, and with this, the royal military will besiege the new capital. They actually don't have all the land that they don't regain all the land they had in the north. But anyway, these guys officially joined the Spanish alliance temporarily. I know it's supposed to be just an economic alliance, but whatever. Just roll with me here. But the French prime minister is trapped in this city as he continues trying to tell his people, keep fighting, but it's not a very good message. Italy decides they might as well just take this free city, and it looks like things might be done for the prime minister. Belgium will intervene, as they will start an invasion into France, and this was unexpected. However, France is their entire military was in their own country because Spain was helping them, and they didn't expect Belgium to intervene. But Belgium is a democracy that has overthrown a dictator, and they don't want any kings. And they broke away from France to form a democracy 2,000 years ago, but they still remember that legacy. So while they start getting pushed back, they're able to hold these two cities, and France doesn't stop besieging this city. Because if they can kill the prime minister, the purple movement will die down. But the prime minister's forces have managed to basically get a double encirclement here, although Spain is still able to ship in some resources to these French troops to keep them here. Southern France / the Republicans, I'll call them, No, I'll just call them, I'll call them the Republicans. No, the parliamentarians, is what they're called. The parliamentarians signed a deal with Italy, giving them basically just their occupied land plus a little bit of land here that makes it look nicer, in exchange for Italy not attacking them anymore. And their armies have finally broken this siege as a massive defeat for southern France, both militarily and morale-wise, because they've just, And when I said southern France, I meant the royalists, not southern France, pretty much western France. Anyway, these two cities have been fully captured after a really long time by Belgium, and at this point, the royalists are begging England to help them out, and England is like, should I? For now, they're going to sit this one out. However, Andalusia has been convinced, finally, to start helping out the current French government, even though they know France is like their rival, but they think it's more important to keep the French monarchy intact because they are also a monarchy, and they don't want their people getting any Republican ideas. Anyway, with this, things go extremely badly for the prime minister, who's surrounded in this city, and the city is captured, and he flees to Italy. However, enough of his army is able to flee to Italy, was ready to rebel, that Italy has basically just helped him gain a new ground over here. As a lot of people who were here and supported the purple French government and are now part of Italy are helping, as Italy has basically completely joined this war on the side of the parliamentarians. And at this point, the prime minister is actually like going into battle with his army because he doesn't want to be stuck in a city and captured, which he had been before. The Belgians will start taking this land. They'd kind of stopped fighting because they thought the war was over, but now that they know it's back on, they start taking this land. And northern France has this entire large front line over here that goes all the way here and down here, as they're hoping that'll be a good enough defense point. The capital of this country is moved from here to here because that's the only city they have control of. But they do then free the capital city, and with this, they've breached the Royalists' defensive lines, and before the Royalists are able to set up new ones, they've gone all the way to here, which is a huge defeat. But Andalusia and Spain are starting to be like, what's the point of this? But they're still helping, which is why it's not going too badly, because the Royalists don't really have any supporters anymore, as more and more of the country is only supporting the Loyalists because of brute force. And the areas under Belgian occupation kind of go that way as well. Pretty much the entire country is only supporting the king because the king is forcing them to. And at that point, his control of the country is extremely brittle as parliamentarian rebellions start happening on the other side of his defensive lines. And Spain and Andalusia decide to drum up, basically get their support back into this because they think this could be really bad for us if we lose this war. It would already been bad for us if the French king fell, but if we lose this war, that would be even more disastrous. So they start pushing back, but there's a lot more native resistance here. And to make things even worse for Spain, their Carthaginian puppet will officially declare independence, as well as this pocket that was governed as part of Spain. They will leave Spain's economic alliance. They've overthrown their monarchy to become a democracy, joined the African Democracy League or whatever it's called, and that kind of makes them not a reasonable target for Spain to try to take back, as they quickly warm their relations with Italy, who doesn't have an ideology but is supposed to be a democracy. The French parliamentarians are going to gain more land as Spain basically realizes that their empire is crumbling and they want to keep what they have left of it. However, that's going to be very difficult for them, as England, who's neutral in the war, basically starts sending some militias into the Spanish territory, and once Carthage falls, which they might have had English help in, England will just directly demand this territory from Spain, and Spain will have no choice but to hand it over. As Spain's empire is crumbling, but they still have one piece of empire left for now in Venezuela, and they will hold on hold on to it with their entire life. Anyway, Carthage starts sending support to these guys as well as the rest of the African League for Democracy. So we'll see if France actually ends up repaying them. They probably won't. But the king is kind of cooked, as this is pretty much just under Spanish occupation, not really owned by the king. The king has fled to Spain at this point, which means that he's kind of lost control of the whole country, as France has officially been... Belgium will give them all their land back. And now they're just at war with Spain, as they start invading into Spain instead of just taking back all their territory. And at this point, Spain is getting really scared because, like, what just happened? And I'm going to color them the old color of France for continuity's sake. Looks better in this context. But they capture the capital of Spain, and they're just, like, a really strong military force, as they also capture the Balearic Islands. And Spain is further crumbling as their empire is gone, and their allies are gone, and Andalusia will start their own invasion into Spain so that France can't get all of it. The Spanish monarchy tries to flee to their colony in Venezuela, only to realize that Venezuela had already set up its own independent government. This new Venezuelan government is actually, it actually is a monarchy, simply because that's the ideology of the Americas. But they basically arrest the Spanish royal family and send them to death. And with that, we have witnessed the end of Spain. I'm going to change these guys' color in case they were a Spanish puppet, because they definitely no longer are. If these guys were a Spanish puppet, they no longer are, but they still are a monarchy. They just kind of became an independent one. In terms of alliances, Spain's alliance has been completely Spain's alliance will completely disband, as Egypt will kind of fall into a massive economic depression that'll lead to a lot of people taking advantage of their stuff. But let's first deal with a treaty dividing up Spain before we look at Egypt. Also, France will move its capital back to the old capital now that it has that back. However, let's go to Egypt's collapse now, because it's going to mostly be facilitated by one thing, and these guys. It's going to mostly be facilitated by the Democratic Alliance of Africa, which I'm just going to keep changing their name every time. I don't remember what it is. But Egypt is having an economic collapse. These guys want to take advantage of that. Sudan will start invading. Arabia, who's not part of the League, will nonetheless start invading. Mesopotamia has a lot of old land they want back that I think Spain took from them, or Spain helped Egypt take from them, so Mesopotamia will start invading. Turkey will take Cyprus. Greece will take Crete. Carthage will start invading into here. They'll leave Libya alone because they know not to touch them. But they'll start invading into here, and Egypt's monarchy is overthrown by their own people as the entire country collapses, and a few new countries will pop out of its dust. So let's see what that looks like, and just what everything looks like after this, because the country is fully collapsed. And here are the new countries, as well as the borders of what used to be Egypt. This is part of Carthage. And alliance-wise, these three will all end up joining the Democratic African Alliance, and these guys will end up actually doing something really interesting and joining the English Alliance. And another country that will join the English Alliance is actually Libya, as England is like the main the main opponent of democracy, which, you know, they are a monarchy, so it does make sense. Also, I forgot to erase these guys and these guys. England is kind of the most evil country. Okay, these guys are sort of an English puppet. I feel like the English Alliance is like sort of English puppets. But like people who willingly became English puppets. Anyway, the collapse of Egypt is nice, but you know what's even nicer? A war between France and Andalusia, which is exactly what will be happening, as France will start an invasion into Andalusia, and this will go quite swimmingly for them, as they are way stronger than Andalusia. They were already stronger, and then they won a war against them and are way stronger. And they only attack Andalusia in Europe, and most of Andalusia's troops were in their colonies. It's not going to be that fast. Like, realistically, this much of Andalusia is still standing before the next thing happens. But England will officially get involved and be like, no, you do not do that. You do not just come in here and do that. And they will officially start attacking France. But France has a plan. And that plan is to attack right back. And it's working. They then tell Italy to go attack Croatia, which will be important, like extremely important. You cannot see them doing this whatsoever. Like, whatsoever. You still can't see them doing this. Whatever, they're attacking Croatia, just take my word for it. And it goes quite well for them. They're able to force Croatia into a peace treaty. Now that France is a democracy, there's a slight problem. And that is that, if we look at their ideology, right now they're a democracy, but that means that their elections can be influenced. And one specific country can influence their elections, and that country is none other than Russia. France goes straight to a dictatorship, skipping over the phase where they're pretending to be a democracy, as the constitution is officially rewritten so that they're not a democracy, which is why they're straight up a dictatorship. And with this, they start rallying their people to rise up against the English monarch, and it works, as people don't realize that their quote-unquote emperor is actually just a dictator, as Andalusia is suffering very badly, and their colonies are getting kind of left behind because of this. But no one will come to Andalusia's aid besides England, who is really struggling to actually get anything onto the continent because France is much stronger than them, and their navy is even stronger. Or not stronger, but like good. As Andalusia's capital is encircled, and at this point they call on their puppets to actually start helping them, and Morocco is going to be the main one who actually does this, as they free up the capital, as the king will flee into the capital of Morocco for now, because he does not want his forces to be doing this. And France is suffering some defeats here, but he's still doing decently well. But they are still doing decently well. And then things are going to get worse as Belgium starts invading into them because of the whole dictatorship thing. Belgium supported a democracy, and now they're a dictatorship, and Belgium doesn't like that. And they are doing a lot of work because they have English forces that are doing most of the actual work, and it's just Belgium that's letting them do a ground invasion. So this is not good for France, but fortunately France has a ridiculous number of people, so they can have some of their people in Andalusia getting pushed back only slightly, and some of their people pushing back against Belgium, as this is working. However, and to make it worse for Belgium, Italy does this, but then, despite France telling them not to do this, they will just take this land and peace out with Belgium. And despite what most people would think is best for them, France will take that as a sign that Italy is a bad guy, and they will start an invasion of Italy. This is while they're at war with two of the strongest countries in the world. Now, they are the strongest country in the world, but like they can't quite defeat Andalusia, and while they're pushing Belgium and England back, they're not doing too great at it. But they blitz through Italy at an insane rate. And they even seize their islands because they have like full naval dominance of the Mediterranean. And they immediately install a puppet ruler in Italy, who will be a dictator. Italy will keep going, as France will keep going. And France has secured a lot of Belgium, as they finally get all of their original country back. And Andalusia's push is continuing, but it's getting slower, as Belgium will call on Eastern Europe to defend. However, as soon as Poland starts sending troops through Belgium to help them, which does actually work a little bit, Poland's weaker than Belgium, but not that much weaker, Russia comes in. They give the French dictator / emperor a thumbs up, and they start their invasion of Poland, which was part of their plan. This is why they got that guy elected, because France and Russia are really close allies. However, things are getting to be too much, and at this point, things will start going downhill for the alliance between France and Russia. First of all, Denmark will join the war, which helps a little bit, not too much. Scandinavia will join the war, which is funny because they're on the same side as England, even though they should be mortal enemies because of this. Turkey will join the war because they hate Russia and probably always will hate Russia. And they quickly get Black Sea dominance because Russia doesn't really have a good navy. And that's really bad for Russia, actually. Romania will join the war, and actually I think their capital's in Bulgaria, but I'm going to call them Romania. Mesopotamia will join the war, and of course, last but not least, most importantly, Siberia will join the war. And it is Siberia joining the war that kind of makes all the difference. As Russia is getting pounded on all sides, they completely withdraw from Poland, and they're like, this is our fight. As they start, fighting, and they actually are winning on every front. They're winning against Siberia, they're winning against Mesopotamia, they're winning against Turkey, they finally retake the Black Sea, they're completely destroying Romania, and they've basically think that they're going to restore themselves. Scandinavia attempts to liberate Estonia, but Russia puts an end to that as they are getting invaded now instead of Russia. However, France is losing in one place for sure, and that is in Andalusia, who's finally gotten their act together and is starting to push into the French-Spanish territories, which all unanimously prefer being part of Andalusia to being part of France, as Andalusia has conquered the Iberian Peninsula and united it. And with this, France is kind of done with this. They stop at the Pyrenees and they're like, fine, you can keep that land, whatever, we don't care, because they are pushing into Belgium as they manage to encircle the Belgian capital, but only temporarily, as England will make landings here and liberate the Belgian capital, giving all of this territory back to Belgium, so they're more trustworthy than Belgium is. Anyway, this is really bad, and what's even worse, Italy will revolt, and you can see the Balearics are now part of Italy. The French emperor is still unbelievably popular in France, but his capital has just been taken as all of his forces have been demolished by his enemies. And with this, Russia will start to also fall as they are forced out of Turkey by some good operations, as well as Mesopotamia. And Mesopotamia basically hugs the Caspian coast, so they can basically work with Siberia and Central Asia, as all of Caucasia rebels away from Russia. And Russia then immediately collapses into civil war, as they will be dissolved. And with this, France will surrender, and their leader will be exiled to Elba. So with that, we can look at a peace treaty. And we actually only saw one country break away, or two countries, being Estonia trying their hand at independence for the 50th time. Then Ukraine is no longer Russia, it's Ukraine. They switched their ideology back, and these guys are also democracy. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.